What's up, guys? Duba Damage here. I recently signed up for my first Hearthstone tournament, official tournament, and I was thinking about what decks I'm going to bring. And I've decided on Control Warrior, obviously, and then a really cool mech secrets weird control mage thing that I play. That I don't know if it's a good deck, but I'm really good with it, so I'm going to bring it because I'm very consistent against both the Zoo and aggro. But for my third deck, what I'm going to bring, because it's a best of 3, and there's no bans either, is probably this guy right here. And the reason being, this deck actually does really good on ladder too. It just has a few counters. But this deck is the counter to so many things. Any type of warlock is like an immediate win, first of all, because of Sacrificial Pact. But even that, though it guarantees win, it doesn't mean that I'm going to put it in my deck. The reason why is because it's not a dead card. A lot of people think it's a dead card, and in some situations, in most situations, it is. But this deck is geared around like so in a tournament, basically, people are going to bring like the most, because they want to win, obviously. They're going to bring decks that are tried and true and that are good, and that like basically it's not that common to see crazy things in decks and tournaments. They're going to be using pretty much standard decks, standard deck lists, like things that won tournaments before, you know, they're going to go online and look at what Strife Crow just won it with or whatever, you know what I mean? So the point of this deck, first of all, is to catch people off guard. Right off the bat, anytime you play a Warlock, you have to mulligan as if they're Zoo. In a tournament, it's probably more likely that they're handlocked, but with Zoo being so strong now, the new Zoo is so strong, it actually might be more likely that they really are Zoo. So everybody's going to mulligan against us as if we're Zoo, and as you can see, we are nothing like fucking Zoo at all. And then when we begin our play style, people are going to assume that we're handlocked, so then they'll alter their play accordingly. They will be scared to deal too much damage because they don't want to give us giants for free and things like this. But then we're going to pull out cards on them that they have just never fucking seen before in being actually used in decks anymore. So like Sacrificial Pact. Say that my mage gets beat by a handlock. I switch to this deck. This is the first most obvious use of this card. And then I pressure him into Jiraxis, and then I instant win. Say my mage loses to Zoo. I would never start with this deck in a tournament, by the way. Because if they win, they have to keep the same deck. So say my mage deck loses to Zoo. Next turn, I pull out this deck, I kill his Doomguard for free and gain 5 health at the same time. Like, not a problem. Amazing counter to Zoo. But this card is useful in so many other situations. So, like, we don't have very many minions on board, and one of our few plays to actually put some sort of minions on board is Implosion. Really, Implosion is just there for removal and to draw removal out of them. But, like, to force them into playing something also. But, Implosion leaves a bunch of 1/1 minions on the board. And every class has a way to deal with it. Every class has a way to remove these guys. So for 4 mana, because bear in mind, Sacrificial Pact is free. For 4 mana, if we're not playing against a Warlock, I can remove a minion of his, maybe an empty board, maybe empty the board, clear the board, put a bunch of minions of my own out, kill off a 1/1 token who's going to die anyways, and heal for 5 health. Which, when you watch me play this deck, you'll see why healing is so important. Because we need to do our, basically the win condition is Arcane Golem, Power Overwhelming, Faceless Manipulator, which hits for 24 damage on turn 10. And the way that we're able to make sure that we do that is that we need to cycle through our deck incredibly fast so that we can run into our combo, and also so that we draw answers to remove their board. And as you know, the Warlock Hero Power, every time we use it, we take 2 damage, and we need to counter that, otherwise we'll just be so easy to kill off. Every deck now pretty much has some sort of strong burst, whether it's a Gromosh or a Fireball or a fucking Doomguard. We need to be able to counter. Healing up is super important in this deck. There's really, really few minions, and none of them are actually intended to even hit the face. Like, if not one of my minions hit the face, that's okay. The point of this deck is to appear very weak. Very, very weak, so that they're not forced to heal. Because, bear in mind, we have to deal at least 6 damage to their face without... for our combo to finish them off. And the way that we do that is when we clear the board, we'll be dealing 3 damage 2 times. We want to appear as if we're always behind, always like react, always react, always react. That way they'll feel comfortable at 24 damage. Instead of focusing on healing, dropping really fucking big minions, trying to seal the win, you know. Whatever they drop, I have an answer. I have an answer to it. But they're not going to feel pressure in healing. And they're going to keep just trying to be like, fuck yeah, I got this, what can I do? And then turn 10, they're just going to die. And if they do heal back up, there are other ways, you know, to re-deal damage. Like, you always end up sneaking damage in. And there's always Alexstrasza as well for worst case scenarios. And she is your only pretty much win condition versus warrior. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's play some games. Hopefully they're not all versus warlock, so I can show you like how to play versus other decks. There are 2 hard counters to this deck, and that is Face Hunter, which is super hard. You have to draw right. So if you don't, basically, it's actually not hard if you draw right. If you don't draw right, then you have to balance taking damage and drawing cards, you know, using your hero power. Because if you get too low, it's just so easy for Hunter to find ways to kill you. It's a race between if you draw right and if he draws right, basically. It's just a race. And generally, Hunter will win that race. But if you happen, there's ways to counter it. If you happen to come into a lot of Hunter in the ladder, you want to put in Kazan Mystic. And that's good because the other hard counter to this deck is Ice Block. If you can steal the Ice Block from like a Freeze Mage, then you're going to win. It's GG. This guy's definitely not a counter, but he's one of the harder opponents because of all of his taunts. But basically, he's going to flood the board with cheap minions, and we're going to remove the board with cheap removal. So we should be okay. I will look for a... I'll keep all of these... I might even keep you, but I do want an Ironbeak Owl, ideally. So let's see. You don't ever want to keep parts of your combo, by the way. This is cool. It's part of the heal. They don't run any demons, so it's good to have these 2 together, because you really are only going to use this in accordance with this, or with a Bane of Doom. So, free card draw. I'll take it. So I'm glad this isn't Warlock, because if it were Warlock, it would just be too easy, and I want to show you a harder matchup. We'll just draw a card here. You really cannot overdraw. I just had a game where I finally, like a really hard matchup warrior, and I had it sold. I had it won, and then they killed my Blood Mage Thalnos, and I overdrew one of my Power Overwhelmings, and it cost me the game. So I would like my Hellfire here. But what I'm actually going to do is, I don't want him to catch on to what I'm doing too early. So I'm going to respond with this guy here. Now this is a fucking Shaman, so he guarantee has removal. But I'm not going to use Sacrificial Pact. I'm going to save it for the second one, because we won't gain full health. But this is what I'm talking about. It's so worth it, because they're all going to die anyways. Are you kidding me right now? Did you really just do that? Okay. So this is... Shaman oftentimes doesn't run much heal. And this is how we're going to sneak in that original 6 damage that we need to do. So 2 of those, and our combo is ready to be, to hit lethal. Unfortunately, though, you don't want to use them like that. I think I might have been too quick to use that versus Shaman, because the Shaman can really build his boards up against you. I would probably leave that alone in most situations, but because I can draw 2 cards this way, and it's spell power, which I really hate, in case he has burst. Let's see here. 7, I'll draw to 8, and then even if he kills it, it'll still be 9, we'll be okay. It's good to have both of these, because we definitely need them both for this, otherwise it could become a dead card, unless I use Bane of Doom. Twisting Nether will be super important in this matchup. If he were to drop Feral Spirit, you know, whatever, just end up building up the board hugely like he always does. So that's fine. That is your prime Siphon Soul target in most situations, but I think there's another way to do this, to where I can build up the board as well. Oh, actually, unfortunately, that's going to cost me 8 mana. So that is getting Siphon Souled. So a lot of our removal will heal us as well. Like I've got some other spells. I haven't drawn into them yet, but I'll show you when I do. So I do wish there was a better way to proc this guy. And this is our best course of action right here, because we're going to also get a minion on board. And so help me God, if it's another fucking Voidwalker, give me one time, give me a Mal'Ganis. Something, give me something, even the 6/6 Infernal. Okay, I'll take that. I'm happy with that. I've gotten Voidwalker every time. I like that. So that needs to be removed. Hit my face, hit my face. Motherfucker. I could Twisting Nether it, but I really need that for big board removals. If this doesn't hit him, if this doesn't kill him off, it's still okay because it'll make his minions, it'll make him, give him other targets to hit as well. Hopefully it hits for 4 though. Perfect. And he's definitely, by this point, got something. We don't really need these guys while we can because these are our last minions. We're going to heal back up to full health. So we've removed Rag and healed back up to 10 for very cheap. We're just going to silence it. Fuck, there's so much shit to silence. No, we're not. We are Twisting Nethering this. This is super important, and this is super important. This is getting Twisting Nethered. Yeah, this is getting Twisting Nethered. We've got 2 parts of our combo already. We can take him down to lethal if we need to with this, but we'll be using this for removal. So that we can card... This counters the damage you take from card draw. So it's really good. I really wanted to keep my Twisting Nether. That's really unfortunate. Okay, I've got both silences. I'm going to keep this. Healing totems are... They can be real big bitches, though. He's in lethal, though. He's ready for lethal once we hit our combo. We are one thing away. Well, I definitely want to silence this guy. I don't know what I want to do with these. I guess I want to do that. Just because if we draw Power Overwhelming, we can attack the face for the win. And we'll draw into more removal in the future. We have another Hellfire. We have other ways to deal with this board. Hopefully we get our Power Overwhelming. We only have 8 cards left, so don't be taunt. Okay, fine. We might be in trouble with some Bloodlust action, though. Alright, we've got the combo. We just don't have enough mana now because we had to draw for it. So let's just limit the amount of damage we have that we're going to take at this point. I'm even going to drop this guy in case there is a taunt on the board. I can remove it with this, or he'll be forced to attack into this guy. Because we have lethal, we can kill him next turn. So let's just see what happens here. Also, healing makes us look weak. So it might have been, like, we might have lost if we didn't do that, actually. Let's see. Does he have both Bloodlusts? No. He can't win with that, can he? What can he do here? Do not be taunt. We win. And there you go. So actually, if we didn't drop that antique heal bot, and he had chose to attack the face, we would have died. That antique heal bot